the 2018 NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes against Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens.
It's a mentality when you step on that field. Everything you got, every single play, and let's find a way to get a win.
Fires it near side to Kelce, comes back to the ball and hauls it in for a 19-yard touchdown.
Down the middle, back of the end zone, it's intercepted.
Back-to-back turnovers by the Baltimore Ravens.
Chiefs are heading to Super Bowl 58, a magnificent season and a heartbreaking end.
The games I watched growing up, the great quarterbacks going up against each other with great football teams, great organizations. You appreciate that stuff when I go against Lamar, all these guys. Know how much fire they have, and they're not going to give up to the very end.
Time has expired. Lamar to the end zone.
I thought it was a touchdown.
He's launching one long. Marquez Valdez-Scantling catches the ball. Yeah! You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs.
You called Kansas City your kryptonite in the past.
It ain't my kryptonite.
Let's get to it. Week 4 on the way as clearer pictures are painted. Figure out who's who, what's what, and a great one there between KC and Baltimore in Kansas City. Joe Musso pleased to be in studio alongside the two-time champ Bryant McFadden, NFL analyst Emory Hunt, here to dive into that game and a couple more that really pique our interest in Week 4. Anytime we get these sagas and we tell these stories year over year, it's great to get another chapter. Feels like the standard is still the Chiefs, but not playing to their own standard right now. What comes to mind when you put those two on a field right now?
Well, right now, clearly the better offense is the Baltimore Ravens. The better quarterbacking has come from Lamar Jackson. So what can the Kansas City Chiefs do to jumpstart better efforts coming from Pat Mahomes and most importantly coming from their entire offense? Because when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, you don't question can they score points. You question how many points will they score. You don't question can Lamar Jackson be a superhero. You don't question Derrick Henry and his ability. We've seen these guys put up outstanding numbers. We're just waiting for the same coming from the Kansas City Chiefs. Where is number 87? Can Travis Kelce deliver like we've seen throughout his Hall of Fame-like career? Because so far in the first few weeks of play, he's been a bit stagnant, and the same can be said for the entire offense in totality. So that is the matchups that I'm looking for. Can the Kansas City Chiefs, if need be, can they keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens offensively?
I would look at the Ravens and say, okay, can you not shrink in the moment? This is like the Mike Tyson effect. This is like the Chicago Bulls with Jordan effect. This is like when you see those Yankee pinstripes. When you have those type of situations.
The Yankee pinstripes?
Yankee pinstripes. Oh. Or when B-Mac sees me coming to a football discussion. Don't shrink in the moment. That's what I want to see from Baltimore. Baltimore tends to, we know they're a great team, but we see them tend to press. And we saw that in the game, the AFC Championship game, when they led the league in rushing and didn't run the football against a team that just gave up 200 yards rushing to Buffalo the week before. So can Baltimore not shrink in these high leverage moments against this particular team is what I'll be watching.
You talked about shrinking. You saw that graphic in regular season and postseason games. That has been the issue for the Baltimore Ravens. And I talk about this all the time. The inability to make routine plays happen routinely.
Yeah.
When you look at the losses that have come from the Chiefs to the Baltimore Ravens, it's about the Baltimore Ravens not making routine plays happen routinely. And that's what the Chiefs have done better than any other team in the National Football League over the last few years. So, yes, this is not a playoff game, but it will feel like a playoff atmosphere. To Emory's point, can the Baltimore Ravens make the routine plays happen routinely?
Those two matchups ago in the playoffs, that was two teams almost feeling like not at their peaks, but operating at extremely high levels. A year ago, we weren't sure what the Chiefs were early on in the season, sputtering. Still, they find a win. Here, a third meeting between these two quarterbacks in this recent history, and it feels like, again, a big advantage for the Baltimore Ravens. But as you guys said, they have a way of finding a middle ground. We'll see if Baltimore can be the standard in this game. Our next matchup has history in it as well, but one that predates any quarterbacks on the field today. Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys, two of the biggest brands in this game. Two teams obviously operating on different levels right now as well, Emory Hunt. But when you take the strength of a defense for Green Bay and the strength of Dallas in their offense, that's an interesting matchup when we pit those two together.
Firstly, I will say no one in NFL history was ever as cold as Bob Hayes was in that game. Like, he was running routes with his hands in his pants, right? That's how far back these two teams go. But I want to know if the Packers can win this game on the strength of Jordan Love's arm alone. Because quiet is kept. We know they can run the football. but they don't have explosiveness in the backfield in the running game. So let's just say Dallas decides, hey, today we're going to stop the run. We're going to load up, stop the run. Can Jordan Love win this game by himself against that secondary that has given up a zillion yards to every quarterback it has faced? Because if they can win on Jordan Love's arm alone, this Packers team could be playing deep into the postseason.
That secondary has been a kingmaker these last 2 weeks. Caleb Williams finding his stride with the 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Russell Wilson for the New York Giants finding all those numbers in the loss. But Mac, when you look at Jordan Love, he makes the fatal mistake in week 3 for Green Bay. This is obviously the get-right spot for him. How much are you hoping to learn against the defense that's given up so much?
Well, he better get right. You talked about the get-right spot. I mean, the last few quarterbacks that have played against the Dallas Cowboys, they've had video game-like numbers. So if you're Jordan Love, we should see the same thing coming from you in your offense in totality. Russell Wilson, video game-like numbers. Regardless of what year Madden it was, you put on the Madden, Russell Wilson put outstanding numbers. We saw what Caleb Williams did just a few days ago. So for Jordan Love, to Emory's point, this should be a get-right moment, but we want to see efficiency. We don't want to see you press. That's what he did against the Cleveland Browns. He was pressing. That's what led to that turnover, pressing and not comfortably going through his progressions. This is a moment when you talk about the secondary for the Dallas Cowboys. They've been giving gimmies to any opposing quarterback they face. So for Jordan Love, it's imperative for him to get back on the good foot. And outside of that, the homecoming of Micah Parsons.
Yeah, it's a get right, but it's also a get back. I know Micah gets paid, but still with the way that negotiations went, he's going to want his piece.
And you know, every time we see a rematch of a former player going back to his previous destination, they always say the professional thing. It's just the next big game. It's no bigger than any other game. That's a lie. It's a lie. Anytime your previous team basically says, we don't want you here anymore, you get a chance to play them, you want to show them you made the biggest mistake this season in allowing me to test the waters and play elsewhere. Because remember, Micah said the entire time he wants to play for the Dallas Cowboys. The only thing that made him say I want to be traded was because they wasn't making any traction with a contract, and clearly he was deserving of seeing.
You got to double him, you got to chip him, you got to trip him. You can't let him get to number 4, Emory. The dynamic of Micah Parsons, the vocal leader of that defense at one time, and Dak Prescott, the obvious leader of that team and of that offense, that's a relationship interesting that we saw those two interact in a positive way, but also throughout the negotiations, Dak was asked of the situation, and he wasn't necessarily going to bat for his guy.
Right, and because we've seen this play out before with other quarterbacks and star players and not going to bat for their guy, but I like that this game is going to be indoors. And now it's going to be indoors on that fast track, and Micah Parsons is the right one for this type of game because he's been vocal about everything. It's funny how he doesn't have podcasts anymore in Green Bay, but he's been vocal about everything while he was in Dallas. I can't wait to see how this thing plays out.
Tough night to sleep for the tackles going into this one, as Micah Parsons is going to be in hot pursuit in the building that he used to call home. Our final big game, good matchup here in week 4. Plenty of them, but the one that we want to highlight, what could be an NFC Championship game preview. Someone's going to find a loss in this one, unless both find a tie, but we won't go there. Undefeated Philly, undefeated Tampa Bay. Mac, this is good on good right now, and Philly makes the comeback a week ago, but Tampa Bay, not the type of team you want to spot 20-some points.
Yeah, and you look at how Philly won last week, Tampa has kind of been doing the same thing the last 3 weeks, you know, being the cardiac Bucks, you know, having game-winning drives from their star quarterback in Baker Mayfield that leads them to an undefeated record. But I love this matchup. Guys, this could be a preview of a playoff potential matchup as well because I foresee both teams getting into the tournament. But the unique thing about this situation, the last 5 games, matchups between these two teams, the Buccaneers are 4-1 against the Eagles. They've had the Eagles numbers oddly in previous matchups. So can that trend continue for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Or will we see a more of a complete passing game from the Eagles? Remember, so far this season, it's been ebbs and flows. And what jump-started the aerial attack in the second half was them getting punched in the face by the Rams. So something clicked for them offensively where Jalen Hurts just opened up the passing game and he was throwing it around the yard. Will we see that established in the first quarter against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And will the Buccaneers have an answer for Baker Mayfield? Because when he shakes and bakes, I mean, it gets really, really hot in here. So I want to see, can they have an answer in terms of slowing down shake and bake, especially seeing how he's been playing at a high level, potentially without Mike Evans.
That was where I was going next here. Mike Evans on one side, Lane Johnson, we're awaiting status on him on the other side. Total sum of the parts. Who do you offer advantage in this matchup?
I like that both teams are coming in playing their style because I want to see if the Bucs can match the Philadelphia Eagles' physicality. We saw what happens when bullies get bullied, right? We saw that earlier in the game with the Rams. The Rams were out-eagling the Eagles. They ran the ball when they wanted to. They converted on third downs. It was winning tight versus tight coverage, and they were punching these guys in the mouth. The Eagles responded by coming back and winning this game and found that extra oomph to go out there and win. The Bucs were taking it to the New York Jets. The same way the Eagles and Rams were getting down, Bucs was down there getting busy too. They get busy in their run game with two backs that are under 200 pounds. They can get busy like that. And on defense, we saw them ratchet up their physicality. So who wins the physical battle, both in the trenches and also on the perimeter? You got two tough-minded quarterbacks. You have great running backs. You have great offensive line, defensive line. They both come in with their various injuries or whatnot. They're banged up. Can the Bucs match the Eagles' physicality? Because how the Eagles won, that's going to carry for a couple of more weeks. Juxtaposed to how the Bucs won, they had to fight and claw to win, but they won the same way as well with Baker Mayfield doing this thing. But man, the way the Eagles won with Jordan Davis and that emphatic exclamation point, that's big.
Type of momentum that tells you Sunday can't come soon enough. And if week 3 is any indication of week 4, you better come for them all. This is going to be another great week in the NFL, fellas. Appreciate it as always. A look at your Sunday slate on CBS. 4:25 window, again, game of the week. It's Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson, the Ravens and the Chiefs from Kansas City.